I don't dislike children. I just don't particularly want to be around them a lot. The problem is, neither do their parents. And I'm getting tired of being constantly involuntarily deputized into the fight to keep your kids away from adult pleasures. You know, it takes a village, that's just a saying. Us other villagers are busy, okay? I have other things to do in the village. What happened to telling kids some things are for children and some things are not? I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of nonviolent drug offenders in jail now because that's the front line of defense in keeping drugs out of the hands of children. And it's just not right. It's not fair. How about zero tolerance for injustice? You know, this drug war, we put up with so much shit because of it. I do personally. There's censorship in television. I can't make a joke about taking drugs on my show. We can talk about taking drugs, but we can't make a joke because the kids might be watching. We made it funny. No, then they'd want to run out and they'd do it and they'd take drugs and that could lead to dancing. No joking. It's a little Orwellian. You know, I'm always disturbed. You ever see that sign at the airport? They have a sign, no joking. Right? You never saw that by the metal detector? Yeah, because apparently, you know, making a joke that close to where the plane actually could crash. You know, hey, I was in the middle of a fabulous TWA 800 story, and and then when you're leaving the airport, of course, they have that sign, resume joking, which I think is sweet, but I mean, get real. You can't lie to kids about drugs. They know about drugs. You can't say they're just all bad, and they know life is a little more complicated than that. I have never done heroin. I wouldn't recommend heroin, but it hasn't hurt my record collection. You know, I mean, let's be real. None of us would like to, or does, live in a world without drugs. The Partnership for a Drug-Free America. Please make me laugh and gag at the same time with that title. Partnership. They're a lobbying arm for the liquor and prescription drug industry. They don't want a drug-free America. They want an America free of the drugs that are their competition. Prozac doesn't want to go up against marijuana. It will lose. Life, you know, things have good and bad sides. Sometimes the same thing. Why can't we understand that with drugs? Dangerous, beneficial at the same time? Yeah. Cars, fire comes to mind. Only with drugs do we base the policy on what the losers do, you know? We don't base automotive policy on, you know, how Gary Busey drives. And yet we base drug policy on Gary Busey. I don't understand that. Why can't we have a consistent Gary Busey policy in America? Also, drug policy is made so anecdotally. We read about the people who OD and screw up. I read about this record executive in New York who jumped out of a window, killed himself because he couldn't find the drugs he needed. Well, you know, folks, there were times I couldn't find the drugs I needed. I didn't quit. Generation X slackers. I didn't throw myself out a window. I called a second dealer and a third dealer, and I called friends. I went to the park. I beat and robbed old ladies. I got the drugs I needed. Drug war. Drug war. How long has this been going on? It's like the 100 Years' War. We don't remember when it started, why it started. I would think they'd be embarrassed by the metaphor of it by now. A war. No war goes on this long. The only reason citizens don't rise up against it is because we know that the government, of all people, is not going to actually stop you from getting the drugs you want. I mean, no one's out there, Billy, this could be our last joint. The government is on the case, and they're practically the untouchables. This may be the last time I see you high. They keep fighting the drug war with different methods. The Reagan-Bush program in the drug war, I love this, was called crop replacement. I'm not kidding. They wanted to make the farmers, the coca farmers in the Andes, stop growing cocaine, the lucrative cocaine crop, and then replace it with, I couldn't make this up, bananas and chrysanthemums, which, I'm not kidding, which it did not work. Just off the bat, have you ever tried to get a stripper back up to your room with a banana and a chrysanthemum? Because it's slow going, ladies and gentlemen. Kid this. But, no, George Bush Sr., he was a drug fighter. Remember, he called it a scourge. It's a scourge. Yeah, it was a scourge. He went into Panama to get Noriega because he was the big coke dealer. I must have went over well with Junior. Thanks, Dad. Why don't you just cut off the whole supply? Yeah, that little Bush kid's a coke monkey. He used to call it Texas booger sugar down there, And Gore was a huge pothead. That's your choice in this election, a pothead versus a former cokehead. And that's not even what's bad about it. What's bad about it is both of them are too dickless to live up to that and say, okay, we did it. It doesn't hurt you that much. Let's change the way we look at it. And I'll tell you something. If Bush does get to be president, I hope he has some cocaine because he has got a lot of fucking studying to do, this guy. He's going to have to pull a few all-nighters. Privacy is so under attack in this country. Doesn't it worry you? It worries me. And this is the last place that they can't get to. Don't tell me how to manage my own head. And please stop assuming that we all agree that longevity and perfect health is always the correct option. No. Sometimes fun costs you. It just does, and that's okay. You're willing to make that purchase. Sammy Davis Jr. was 64 when he died. Give me 64 Sammy years. I'll be happy.